Welcome back to the Dominion of Fear podcast. I'm Dr. Nika. Let me tell you about something that changed how I think about this work. In the early days of attachment research, the assumption was that your attachment style was essentially fixed, set in early childhood, part of who you are. Bowlby himself believed that the first few years were foundational in a way that couldn't be fully undone. And then the data started showing something different. Researchers began following people longer, tracking them from childhood into adulthood, decades later, and what they found was a significant number of people who had insecure attachment in childhood were showing up in adulthood as securely attached. Not just coping better, actually secure. Different nervous system responses, different relationship patterns, different outcomes. They called it earned security. And that phrase matters, not given security or lucky, earned, because it doesn't come from having had a perfect childhood. It comes from specific experience and specific work that changes how the nervous system interprets connection and safety. This is what this last episode is about. I want to be honest with you first about what earned security isn't. It's not a destination you arrive at and then never have to think about again. It's not the elimination of your attachment history. Your history is your history and it stays part of you. It's not a linear process. There will be relationship or situations that temporarily pull you back into old patterns, and that's not failure. That's the nervous system doing what nervous systems do. Earned security is more like a new default setting, one that takes time and repetition to build, one that once built holds even under pressure, not perfectly, but reliably enough to make your life and your relationships fundamentally different. If I could do it, anyone can. So how does it actually happen? The first pathway, and the most well documented in the research, is a long-term relationship with a securely attached partner or figure. This doesn't have to be romantic. It can be a therapist, a consistently warm and attuned friendship, a mentor, a family member who shows up differently than the original environment. What matters is that the relationship is consistent, emotionally available, and safe over a sustained period of time. Here's what's happening neurologically. Every time a safe person responds to you with warmth and consistency, every time you reach out and they reach back, every time conflict happens and doesn't end the relationship, every time you show a real part of yourself and nothing bad happens, your nervous system is getting updated data. The old file that says connection is dangerous, that closeness leads to pain, that you can't rely on people, that file gets incrementally rewritten. It's slow. I won't pretend otherwise. We're talking about years, not weeks. The nervous system isn't easily convinced, but it is convincible. And each repeated experience of safety is doing real work, even when it doesn't feel dramatic. The second pathway is reflective functioning, also called mentalization. This is a skill and it can be developed. Reflective functioning is the capacity to understand that your own mind and other people's minds are separate. That behavior has mental states behind it, emotions, thoughts, histories, intentions, and that your reading of those mental states is an interpretation, not a fact. That the person who didn't text back for 6 hours has a life and a nervous system and a set of circumstances that have nothing to do with your worth. Sounds simple. It's not simple when your nervous system is in threat mode. People with insecure attachment, and especially those with disorganized attachment, often have lower reflective functioning under stress. In calm moments, they can think clearly about what's happening in a relationship. Under emotional pressure, the capacity collapses and the old automatic interpretations take over. Building this capacity means practicing it outside of crisis first. When you're not activated, think through a recent interaction. What was I feeling? what might the other person have been feeling? What did I automatically assume? Was that assumption the only possible interpretation? This is not navel gazing. This is training a part of the brain that directly meditates attachment responses. The third pathway is trauma processing. This is particularly relevant for anxious and disorganized attachment styles, where the early experiences involve real hurt, inconsistency, or threat. The unprocessed memories aren't just emotionally painful, they're neurologically active. They run in the background. They get triggered by present circumstances that pattern match to the original experience, and they generate the automatic responses, the panic, the withdrawal, the shutdown, that feel out of proportion because they're not just responding to now. Processing trauma changes this, not by erasing the memory, by completing the nervous system response that got stuck, by allowing the brain to move the experience from active threat to past event. EMDR is one of the most well-researched approaches for this. Somatic therapy, prolonged exposure. A good trauma-informed therapist knows how to navigate this work without re-traumatizing. I'm not going to pretend you can do this alone on a podcast, but I want you to know it exists, it works, and you deserve access to it. The fourth pathway, and the one you can start today, is self-to-self attachment. This is a thing that gets talked about least in mainstream psychology, but is maybe the most foundational. The way you relate to yourself, the way you respond to your own distress, your own needs, your own mistakes. Think about it this way. If you had a child in front of you who was scared, what would you do? You'd probably try to comfort them, be present with them, let them feel what they're feeling without immediately trying to fix it or make them feel foolish for feeling it. Most insecurely attached people are not given that, and most of them don't give it to themselves now. The inner voice is critical, impatient, dismissive, often mimicking the voice of the original caregiver. Stop being dramatic. You're too sensitive. No one's going to put up with this. And more. Changing that internal relationship isn't soft work. It's actually one of the most precise neurobiological interventions we have. When you consistently respond to your own distress with warmth instead of criticism, you're activating the same neural system that secure early attachment activates. You're giving your nervous system a safe base, even when that base is you. This takes practice. It feels awkward and fake at first, especially if it's far from anything you grew up with. Do it anyway. The discomfort is distance between when you were wired and where you're going. The fifth thing I want to say, and I'm saying this as a clinician and as someone who's seen this process up close many times, is that earned security changes not just you. It changes who you attract and what you tolerate. This is the part people don't always believe until they experience it. When the wiring changes, the choices change. Not because you're trying harder, because the nervous system no longer reads chaos as familiar and comfort as suspicious. The person who keeps you anxiously pursuing starts to feel exhausting rather than magnetic. The stable, consistent, somewhat unsexy reliability of someone who actually shows up starts to feel like exactly what it is, something worth holding onto. That shift doesn't happen overnight. It happens in the process of all the small moments where you chose differently, where you let yourself be seen, where you stayed in the discomfort instead of escaping it, where you reached out to a safe person instead of white-knuckling it alone, where you treated yourself with the basic decency you should have received from the beginning. You came to the series with a dark psychology playbook. You now have the attachment framework underneath it. You know where the vulnerabilities come from, and you know what rewiring them actually looks like. This isn't a small thing. Most people spend their entire adult lives inside these patterns without ever having a clear map of them. You have the map now. What you do with it is yours. Drop a comment. Tell me what shifted for you in this series. Tell me where you are in this work. Tell me what you want to go into next. Those conversations are where the real dominion gets built. This is the final episode of Attachment Unlocked. Thank you for riding with me through this one. Fear only has dominion when you don't name it. You just named all of it. Stay aware, stay brave, and I'll see you in the next series.